And they invited the speakers, Commander Juan de Dios Toledo Martinez, Deputy Head of the European Union Internet Monitoring Unit and coordinator of the SIRIUS project, who will talk us about his experience with this project led by Europol. And last but not least, Professor Baltasar Fernández Majón from Universidad Complutense de Madrid, who holds the Telefónica UCM honorary share in digital education and serious games. So here you can see the agenda for today's workshop. Before moving on, we would like to let you know that the workshop is going to be recorded, having said that, I will provide now a short overview of the Rayuela project, and we will start with the presentations from the speakers. Okay, so who are we, the Rayuela project? We are an European Union funded project. We got 5 million euros. The project started back in October 2020, and the duration is 3 years. The consortium is composed of 17 partners from 9 European Union countries that cover the most important or representative European geographical areas. And but we are especially proud of the multidisciplinarity of the consortium, which gathers law enforcement agencies, psychologists, and sociologists, philosophers, experts in ethics, lawyers, educators, and computer science and engineers. So what do we want to do in the project? The main goal is to develop a serious game, an interactive story-like serious game that help us both to train minors in good practices in the internet and associated technology, and also to model in a friendly and non-invasive manner potential risky profiles, so that law enforcement agencies can develop evidence-based policies to protect them. So in this video game, the players will be able to learn good practices in the internet in a secure environment, let's say. How do we plan to achieve this goal? Well, here you can see an overview of the overall project. First, there is a research stage that would focus, that is indeed right now focusing on the one side, researching on the main human factors, psychological and sociological factors affecting some cyber crimes, notably online grooming, cyberbullying, human trafficking for sexual exploitation, and also disinformation. And we are also focusing on researching on the technological threats and vulnerabilities associated to IoT devices or connected devices, which are commonly used by minors, such as wearables or smart personal assistants. Once that we complete this initial research stage, We will translate the main findings into an interactive story-like video game. In this video game, the video game will be composed of different cyber adventures that will subtly address the topics that I have just mentioned, and the players will face situations. They will have to make decisions, and depending on such decisions, they will end up in a risky or in a safe situation. If they end up in a risky situation, they will have the chance to try it again until they end up in a safe situation, so that this way they will learn good practices in the internet in a safe environment. So is something similar to the situation with pilots that learn how to pilot a plane in a simulated environment, in a flight simulator, but the lessons that they learn in the flight simulators are completely valid for the real life. Once that we launch the first prototype of the project, we will start a piloting phase, which will cover both supervised and unsupervised environment, and will help us to train the minors participating in the piloting phase, and also gathering the required data to carry out analysis using machine learning or even deep learning techniques to obtain results that will be jointly interpreted with our colleagues from the law enforcement agencies and psychologists and sociologists, in order to provide the law enforcement agencies with insights so that they can develop policies to protect potential risk profiles. Right now, the project is in the middle of this first stage, and we have just started also with the development of the video game. So this workshop is especially helpful for us because we will learn from other experience, so that we can avoid the mistakes and copy the good practices in order to have a successful project. So that was all from my side. So far, we can start with the first presentation, which will be delivered by Ana Moya and Leire Bastida. Let me give you more details about their CV and background. Ana Moya graduated in computer science at the University of Deusto, and in 2015 obtained the Master in Gamification and Transmedia Narrative from the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Business School. She's a project manager in the e-service business area of the ICT division of Tecnalia, and she's involved in several initiatives related to user experience, user-centric design, human factors modeling, user engagement, and gamification and gaming applied to contexts such as education, health, or business. Anna also conducts research for the application of new models of motivation applied to learning environments and changes in behavior to achieve objectives. Leire Bastida holds a PhD in computer science from Deusto University, an executive MBA from the SEUNE Business School, a Master in Gamification and Transmedia Narrative from the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Business School, and she is also a certified PMP, project management professional. She started her career as a researcher in the European Software Institute back in 2002, and nowadays she is a project manager and support of strategic public programs in the e-service unit of the ICT division of Tecnalia, together with Anna. Since 2002, she has coordinated and collaborated in several projects at both international and national levels, and her main expertise includes user experience, human factor modeling, user-centric design, gamification, and visual analytics, among others. So thank you so much, Anna and Leire, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gregorio. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, I think so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gregorio. First of all, thank you very much for all of you and for attending this workshop. Okay, this part is related to a project that we have leader. We were the leaders of the project. It's called OCARiot, and in this project we develop an application and a gamify application by using gamification. Let me define what is gamification and a serious game, because it's good to know what is the definition of both of them. In this case, gamification is the application of game design elements and game principles in a non-game context to increase engagement and effectiveness of people who is living an experience. And a serious game is a game, right, with the same structure of a game. And okay, in this case, a serious game is designed for a primary purpose other than pure entertainment, right? The serious game has another objective, but it uses the entertainment to reach that objective. The main difference between them is that a serious game is a game and with a similar structure of a game, and gamification is the application of game design techniques in a context. But both of them have a specific purpose more than the pure entertainment, right? So in the project OCARiot, we apply a gamification strategy and a gamification approach to obtain some objectives. OCARiot means a smart childhood obesity caring solution using IoT potential. OCARiot is a collaborative project between Europe and Brazil to develop an IoT-based personalized and gamified coaching solution for children between 9 and 12 years old in order to promote then a healthy lifestyle related to nutrition and regular physical activity. The project execution was from 1917 and it ends recently in April this year. And inside the project, we developed two different parts. One of them was the OCARiot app, focused on children, in which we developed the gamification strategy, and the OCARiot dashboard for families, teachers, and healthcare professionals. So, which was the impact of OCARiot? Which was the impact we planned to have inside the project, and we have the impact at the end of it. We have two points to read with the project OCARiot. We wanted to reduce obesity rate in school-age children in the long term. We promote engagement and adherence to healthy habits. And we wanted to integrate family and schools in the promotion of healthy habits, because children are a lot of time at the school. And also we contribute to quality of research and e-health products in the society. How was the OCARiot Gamify app? The objective of the app, as I mentioned before, is promote that children between 9 and 12 years old acquire healthy habits in the nutritional and physical activity areas while keeping them in a long-term engagement using fun and easy mechanism. In this case, for example, we had two objectives. One in a medical perspective to have healthy habits. Another objective was to more related to the gamification strategy and was to become an agent this agent has different abilities that were dexterity, intelligence, and discipline. All of these abilities were related to a specific part of what we wanted to achieve with them regarding the nutritional and physical activity. For example, in dexterity is defined as agility, power, endurance, resistance to overcome the tests. So we consider to relate this ability to the physical activity and sports. The intelligence is defined as the knowledge about subjects concerning the danger at hand. And we decide to relate this ability to the healthy living education because inside the application, children has the option to play different games, educational games in order to educate them with all the things and concepts about nutrition and physical activity and healthy habits in general. And the last ability was discipline. This is defined as the awareness and self-control over your impulses and actions, and this was related to nutrition. So based on the progress of the experience, children was earn different elements according to dexterity, intelligence, and discipline. What an important thing in the experience of the OCARioT app was the storytelling, as you have in the right part of the slide. For us, it's very, very important to have a storytelling which connects the beginning and the end of the experience, and in this case was to be an agent with these three abilities. For example, we consider this storytelling. Scientists from around the world have identified major health hazard for the entire population, which has been causing serious illness and even deaths. If not treated in a not so distant future, the evil can be the end of the humanity. To address this problem, the scientists have formed an international organization to promote healthy habits. Although they are not much, so they started a program to recruit, select, and train young field agents around the world. To lead this initiative, they have created a very powerful artificial intelligence technology as an agent trainer. You have to be pre-selected to be an agent in this organization. So this is the presentation card for all the children and the onboarding part of the experience of the application, of the Gamify application, in order to go inside the experience and try and play and reach and achieve the different objectives that we have planned at the beginning of the project. So this is the part what we are considering a very important part inside an experience. In this case, in the gamification, in the OCARioT gamification app, or other experience based on gamification or a serious game. Which was the game elements that we consider inside the Gamify app in OCARioT. We develop a methodology and a strategy based on gamification to identify which are the best elements to be developed inside the experience in order to achieve the objectives that we have at the beginning of the project to educate children in healthy habits. And we identify this set of elements. In this case, for example, the first one was the quest. This is the final objective of the experience. a message to be fulfilled by the children. So in this case, you will have two types of messages: medical message based on obesity indicators, and childish message. You have to be an agent, right? The game element called missions, a set of initial challenges, has been shown based on the child's profile. The challenges will define to which abilities are related and personalized for each child, because not all the children has the same starting point in the experience, because we have different measures. And based on those measures, we personalize the experience for each child and present the experience for each child in different parts of the experience. The tutorial, for example, is as a comic, as you can see at the right part of the slide. We present the story, we present all the things related to the experience, how to play the experience, which are the objectives, the rules, the rewards, and all the things that you can have inside the experience in order to know which are the rules and the norms inside the experience. We had a mentor. The mentor was the trainer with the intelligence inside the artificial intelligence that we imagine in this case. The user can select the human avatar. The mentor was in such a way of an avatar that the child could select at the beginning of the experience. And this virtual character that represents the agent trainer who will guide all the children during the experience. A progress hat. This part is to have to know in which part of the experience I am, and the current state of a child at each time, related to the three abilities that we consider: the dexterity, intelligence, and discipline. According to the progress in the experience, those abilities will be incremented accordingly. Skill points. There are points earned with a mission is overcome, the missions that I have mentioned before. There are coins, because we consider that it's important to gain or to earn coins to be exchanged for other things. So we have an inventory with different items in the shop that children can exchange with to personalize the mentor, with customization, with different elements to customize the mentor. And the customization, of course, the possibility of personalizing the mentor through equipment, change with the coins earned with the different parts of the experience. So later, this is the part for later. This is you have the floor now.
Muted later.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so as Anna has mentioned here, we are going to provide you some a screenshot of the final application we have developed. The application has been developed for Android devices and also has been developed for web browsers. But I would like to remark that this application or this game or Gamify app doesn't make sense without the whole OCARioT solution, because here what we do is we just integrate different IoT devices, for example Fitbit wristbands, where we collect information about the physical activity and also sleep information, and then all this information is combined through more details about which are the nutrition status of the different foods the children are eating during each day, that I will present later how we capture that information. And all this information is provided to our decision support system, which selects the most suitable missions to be complete by each specific child during a week. So that's why there was a question in the chat if there is some kind of play demo of this application. There is not, because without the intelligence of the system and without the connection to the IoT devices, it doesn't make sense, because there is no intelligence inside this Gamify app. Okay, so I would like to clarify this, because the objective of the Gamify app is just to provide the recommendations to children in the form of missions in order to achieve healthy habits. Okay. Then, as Anna has mentioned, I am going to provide you some a screenshot about the Gamify app. For example, we have the home screen. In the home screen, the child can see easily which is the status of the different skills that you can see at the right side of the of the screen, and also the total number of coins they have available in case they have not spent it in the inventory. Okay, so next, please. The next one is the missions. Each week, 3 new missions will be active for each child. This will depend on how they have achieved the previous missions and which is the initial baseline they have when starting to use the OCARioT solution. So here you can see that we have the active missions that are the ones started that week, and then we have the achieve, how many missions they have achieved during this week. We decided not to put the missions not achieved because we did not want to discourage children. Okay, so when a mission is not complete, then it disappears, and the system can decide if that mission should be activated or not later. Not the following week, in case there is a mission very complicated for a child to be completed, but some weeks later. Next, please. So other part of the application was to try to educate children on the acquisition of healthy habits. And we include some kind of educational games, 4 different kind of games that here you can see that are a kind of trivia, true or false, find them all, where they can find a specific food or ingredients between different pictures, and then matching pairs. They have to associate concepts with pictures. Okay, so the idea of these training games was to try to learn more about healthy habits. They can earn some points when they achieve a high score. So if you are playing a lot, you are not going to get a lot of coins. We need to balance the economy of the game. So the idea is that when a high score is achieved, then they get some coins to be exchanged later. So the next screen is about the agent report. So we needed to collect information from the children. So every week we ask them to provide some information about how the week went. The first part was just to show the status, the progress in all the skills and the coins. And then we asked them 3-4 questions about the missions and, for example, how was the food or the food consumption they had during the previous week. With this information, we can personalize better the different missions and recommendations for the following week. The next screen is about the mentor. As you have seen, the mentor is the guide, the one who provides guidance to children, recommendations, the missions, notifications, and reminders. So with the coins, the children can personalize the mentor with different accessories. They can change the hair, they can change the color of the avatar. And also when they have achieved, we can say, all the mission respective in the pilot part, they get what we call the agent suit. So they can buy here the hat, the jacket, and the trousers. So they are finally become the agent that we are expected. This is So which are the results we got with OCARiot? We have several KPIs, but here we have remarked the most relevant ones with the pilot. We have 4 schools involved in the project from Greece, Spain, and Brazil, because it was a project between Europe and Brazil. So the number of children with obesity was decreased when using the solution, and also the acquisition of healthy habits also increased. We also have at least 90% of children with the body mass index in the healthy range that was recommended by the doctors in the project. The rate of adherence to the acquisition of healthy habits was around 92%, and we also increased the physical activity by 70%. We need to have in mind that the pilot happens during the COVID-19 situation. So there was a lot of lockdowns, the schools were closed, children were at home. So it was a bit difficult to try to achieve these numbers, but I think thanks to the schools and the pilot size, we got it. Finally, we organized some kind of survey questionnaires about satisfaction and technology acceptance, and the feedback was very high, around 90–95% of satisfaction. I would like to finish presenting you what we have present here is the part related with children, but we also wanted to involve families and educators in this solution, because we think they can also provide or can teach children, but they also can learn how to increase or improve the healthy habits in their children. For doing so, we prepare what we call the OCARiot dashboard. The OCARiot dashboard is a web page where they can monitor the evolution of the children, but they can also provide additional information about the food tracking, as I had mentioned before, and they also need to validate the different missions the children need to accomplish should be validated by families through the dashboard. And here, as you can see, they can see also the missions, they can see information about the IoT devices, the physical activity performed by children, and also the food tracking. Next. So here the main screens is the follow-up. Here they can see the follow-up of the different skills. As you remember from the home screen in the Gamify app, they can see the 3 abilities plus the points the child has got on the app. Next. The next one is to console information about the IoT devices. Apart from the weight, we were also using a smart weight scale and the Fitbit wristband. We also deploy some environmental sensor to measure air quality, temperature, and humidity in order to correlate the impact of these variables in the healthy status and obesity of children. So all this information can also be consulted here. Next. And finally, all the missions can be shown here by families and also to be validated in order to demonstrate that the child has completed or not one of the missions. And I think that's all. So thank you very much. If you have any comment about the project, just let us know. The project just finished on April, but we are still finishing things with the Commission and the Brazil Ministry. So we are open to any suggestion you can have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leire and Anna. Since we have a specific slot at the end of the workshop to gather questions, let's take them there, and let's move to the next presentation. That will be delivered by Rubén Fernández Bleda, who is project manager in the Valencia local police, and who is also participating in the Rayuela project. Rubén Fernández graduated in English studies at the University of Valencia, His career began in 2005 as a police officer in the Valencia local police. He has a wide-ranging professional background as he has worked under different task forces and duties: Transport and Documentation Division, Road Traffic Unit, Motorcycle Division, Regular Patrolling, among others. And since 2017, he has been doing security research in Valencia Local Police, European Union Project Division, currently managing two 2020 projects focused on youth and cybercrime. Rayuela is one of them, and CC Driver is the other one, right, Ruben? We cannot hear you. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Now
it works.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Ruben. Well, Ruben will deliver a talk on Inspect 2T overview and lessons learned from his awareness serious game to promote collaboration between law enforcement agencies and the community, a project that ended a few years ago, right, Ruben?
Yes, that's it.
So thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you.
I'm the bad guy of the movie, I forgot to let Leire and Anna knows about the time in the previous presentation, but Ruben, I will show you a piece of paper with when 5 minutes are left, okay?
Okay.
Although we have a time at the end of the workshop, but just to try to avoid getting delayed.
Thank you.
The floor is yours, Ruben. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregorio. Can you see the screen? Am I sharing my screen or not?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. So, as Gregorio has said, I'm going to present an European project that we were partners of, and it was ended in 2018. And this European project, well, the summary, I'm going to introduce it at the beginning, and I will talk about the two different awareness games that were done in the scope of this project, to finally discuss a bit of the best practices and lessons learned that we had with this experience. Inspect stands for Inspiring Citizens' Participation for Enhanced Community Policing Actions. And the aim of this project was to boost the two-way communication, bi-directional communication between LEAs and citizens by means of an interactive platform where by means of two different profiles you could sign in as a LEA or as a citizen. And in that way, you could, being a citizen, for instance, you could send a report, and you would get notified of the progress of this specific report. You could attach media files, and in the same way, the LGAs could trace these reports made by citizens that could notify the progress with this platform. And in order to create awareness of the community policing and the positive effects of it, it was made two different mobile games, serious games. The first one is called Reserve Force, and this is a single-player role-play turn-based survival game where the player takes control of a local police force. The objective of this specific game was to raise awareness of the positive impact of the community policing and trying to increase the cooperation between the police officers and the citizens through engagement in this policing model, community policing. It was intended as well trying to attract the younger generation, and this was a specific focus of the game as well. And in the feedback sessions, in the pilots that were done, We received valuable information, not only by citizens, but also by LEAs. And they, for instance, enjoyed realistic situations that were exposed in the game. And the gameplay was based on decisions. And the strategic component level required in order to pass the different phases was as well accepted. The gameplay for it was trying to respond to typical incidents as a local police force. For instance, you got a service of a traffic accident, you got a drugs-related service, etc. And you should, as a police, to allocate different police resources. And in this way, citizens will see the harsh reality of overstretched resources and lack of critical information that many times police officers in the field have. So in this sense, it was achieved the purpose of the game. But there were obviously things that didn't like that much the testers. For instance, the scenarios you couldn't pick which scenario to play, and it was fixed order. The interface was said to be a bit messy, and it wasn't everything clear or as clear enough as it should be. And the music didn't fit very well as well, according to the feedback received, to the role of police officer managing these different kind of services. So the enhancements that could be done in this sense could be the possibility of choosing a scenario, to have a clear interface and gameplay, and a proper, more adequate music selection. This is feedback that we received from LEAs. These are quotes extracted from police officers from different parts of Europe. Resource Force gives the public a glimpse behind the badge of policing to help educate them on expectations and demands. And Resource Force is an effective tool for raising awareness of community policing. On the other hand, different citizens said that ordinary people can help the police. Thanks to this awareness game, they were able to know this. Citizen collaboration can be very important, and police have limited resources. And calling the police is not always the answer, depending on the kind of service and the situation. The second game that was done in the scope of this project is called Crime Spotters. This is a multiplayer, real-time social game where you should behave as a criminal or a detective. You could pick both roles in the game, and you have to take pictures. You're located. You're located in a map, and you have to take pictures of potentially criminal or prone to crime situations. For instance, there's a bike that is not locked, or there's a building that seems abandoned and that has some broken window, etc. So either as a criminal or as a police, as a detective, you have to upload a picture and show it to know that there's a potential crime there. This helps to citizens to know the situational awareness of this target audience, as well as to know which types of crimes might be prevalent. And so in the map, as you can see, you can see different items nearby located. The map was played in blue if you were a detective, or in red if you were a criminal. So the purpose, as I mentioned, is to either to steal or to secure as many items as possible in order to know which vulnerabilities you might find in these environments, to create this awareness. The feedback sessions, they liked many things. They could choose this possibility of selecting both sides was praised by the testers. At the same time, being able to locate different items and identifying the case was enjoyable for them. And the cases were realistic, and they liked that, as well as the possibility of interacting with other players. The things that didn't go as well or didn't like that much, they couldn't always know which were the main goals. As well, the gameplay was repetitive, or some of them. Translations issues, with not all the game was translated to the different languages of the European partners of the consortium. And as well, the privacy issues that arised when the users were uploading pictures in the game. They weren't able to establish to which level they wanted to share the pictures, and it was shared to the highest level. So thanks to the feedback received, these issues was addressed. But this showed us that it's very necessary to have these early stages of feedback to know which issues and have to be addressed. And privacy, it's very necessary to have it, and specifically in Rayuela, having this target audience. And this is everything. I wanted to say some recommendations regarding the feedback. As said, the feedback in early stages is very recommended. If there's a possibility of conducting surveys or interviews with the target audience to know their preference, it should be very convenient. Because I must say that of the feedback that we received in these sessions, youngsters were the ones that were less attracted to these games. So, being the target audience of Rayuela, we have to address this issue and try to know in advance what are they most attracted to, and do the game in an understandable and user-friendly way. In our case, we had to address the non-user-friendly issue with providing better rules and instructions at the beginning in order to orientate the users so they know what is expected for them and how the dynamics of the game works, etc. And this is everything I wanted to say. And as Gregorio has said, if there's further comments or later, it would be better. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ruben. Very interesting presentation. I fully agree with you that it is so important to involve minors in the design and development of the video game. Otherwise, we will end up with a video game for us and not for them. The next speaker, well, we come back to this in the discussion session, and we will also take questions about your presentation in this discussion session. The next speaker is Commander Juan de Dios Toledo Martinez, who will deliver a talk on SIRIUS game to train law enforcement agency to combat terrorism. Commander Juan de Dios Toledo Martinez served for the Spanish Guardia Civil. He began his career in Las Palmas, the Gran Canarias, as head of the main post in Arucas. Later, he became part of the cyber terrorism group of Guardia Civil, where he remained for more than 10 years. With his promotion to commander, Juan de Dios became part of the Internet Monitoring Unit of the Europol Counterterrorism Center, where he now plays the role of deputy head. Finally, since 2017, Juan de Dios has led the SIRIUS project, in which, together with Eurojust, they promote new avenues for better access to digital evidence in research. So thank you so much for joining us today, Juan de Dios. It's a pleasure to have you over here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gregorio. Let me first try to share. Everything goes okay. I hope you can see the presentation properly.
Yes, perfect.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As Gregorio clearly explained, my name is Juan de Dios Martinez, and I'm the project coordinator of SIRIUS. And one of the activities of our SIRIUS is also an Horizon 2020 project funded by the Foreign Policy Instrument. We have the project extended until end of 2024, although we hope to renegotiate and extend it for 2 more. And one of the deliverables that we have foreseen in the project was a video game. It is not common in the law enforcement field to have those type of gamification, but in our case we thought it was a good idea to let all European law enforcement and judiciary understand what is the e-evidence landscape and how to engage with OSPs. Just for you as a quick heads up, SIRIUS it's a platform, it's a project that aims to promote cross-border access to evidence, to e-evidence, and in principle, our main goal is to let them, law enforcement and judiciary, understand how to better engage with the major online service providers, such as Facebook, Twitter, all the big ones, so as for them to get the information as soon as possible and in the best way possible. Within this game, our goal was to try to promote those iterations, but using real case scenarios, the most real case scenarios that we can encounter. Well, we divided the work in 4 steps. The first one was how to create the scenario. We wanted, as I told you, we wanted to have like a clear and real scenario in place. But to achieve that scenario, we didn't want to just draw it ourselves and do it on our own. So we wanted to include also the single point of contact network and some experts from member states, both from the judicial side and from the law enforcement side. We counted, and we were fortunate because we had the possibility to use an already set up backend platform done by the Center of Excellence of Centric. So the engine of the game was already in place, and then we had to work quite hardly into all the visuals and the material. In our case, it's mainly videos that carries you from one area of the game to the rest of them. And yeah, finally we launched the game October 2020, and we have been going through it and several iterations during this year. We hope to update it the year after. So for the video game, for the scenario, for the setup of the scenario, it was I will try to give you like my blunt experience or our blunt experience with the video game. So maybe you can get our lessons learned and take advantage for your part. I don't know if it's too soon or too late, but let me use this as a clear example on that. At the beginning, we thought on the game as a create your own adventure game, so everybody can select or take decisions, and based on your decision, you will explore one path or another. That, in written, it was quite simple to put as you see there, like with all the items. If you click here, you go there, and if you click there, you go back to that point. But in the reality, it was not that easy, because anytime that we open more possibilities, we end up having millions of them. So it was a never-ending loop of opening possibilities and going back to the same paths. And also in some of the cases, coming back to the same areas, it was too much repetitive. So you can explore paths, but in the end, if you are not right, you come back to the same. It was like a reviving the same day, once and again. We discovered that together with all the colleagues, just trying to draw all the possible paths and how to come back more to the same point. So we decided to create one main stream and then parallel streams that complement that, trying to keep it as simple as possible and then to enrich it little by little with more active paths. This was our first draw of the paths. So depending on your decision, you can reach these medals, which is that you solve the case properly, or you can end up where the terrorists escape and they commit another crime. In this case, I didn't mention, but we use as a default case a terrorist attack, pretty much similar to the London one. So the initial point on the it's a terrorist attack happening, and then you as an investigator reaching the scene and deciding what to do with what you encounter there. And well, as I mentioned you before, we have this good possibility to have the backend, on the backend for the game, the Center of Excellence in Terrorism, Resilience, Intelligence, and Organized Crime Research. We call Centric, which is quite easier. And fortunately, via this Pegasus, they were able to transform all the items, all the design that we had in mind into something playable. Of course, they created this front end with all the items there, but we had to create on our own all the videos and the visuals for the materials of the application. But it was quite easy because it was simple to transform what we have in mind about this create your own adventure to something tangible and easy to be seen with a nice look and feel. For us, one big headache was the creation of the videos and the visuals. And let me explain roughly why. Let's say we have a lot of constraints regarding data protection, privacy. So we knew that we cannot use real videos because it can be tricky to make use of that. And also we can go against copyright and a lot of legal bindings. So we created the material from scratch. As said, it can looks quite easy, but in the end, it's a big effort to create videos without having personal data, not personal faces, not issues with music rights and all those items. Because we wanted to have an immersive experience, so we want the video to be as real as possible. And so in the end, it was a mixture between some parts of real videos that were clear to be used, and some parts done by us via modification of other ones and usage of compiling bits and pieces from left and right. But that in principle looked quite simple for us. Or top of my head, it was one of the easy steps. Like you get some videos and you put it there. It was a matter of several months working with videos 24/7, so as to have something that we can rely on that was good enough to offer an immersive experience, and also that we knew 100% sure that it wouldn't come with any legal binding or complaint later on. Well, once we launched the SIRIUS game, we also saw the first constraint. Originally, the SIRIUS was designed to be only browser-based, also, let's say the main concern from the community was that they wanted to have something more, let's say, more easy to play, not going via a desktop browser to play there. So we soon discovered, or we soon realized that that we need a serious game in an application, like in a mobile app. In this case, we are working on that this year, and we will have it in place, I hope, before the end of the year. But transforming a game just done on for a desktop experience, like browser-based, to something compatible with a mobile app. In our case, it was heavier than what anyone could imagine. Also, regarding this, we experienced that regarding the videos, all the experience with the videos at the beginning was really heavy, so around 1 gigabyte per item, and we discovered that we need to reduce a lot and put it way more lighter, so as the game can run smoothly, no matter if your machine is super powerful or if you have like a normal one to play with. Well, this is the look and feel of some of the pages of the game. What we have there is 24 hours to resolve a case. You have some clues, and depending on your decisions, the time will be reduced dramatically, or you will be on time to solve the case. Those 24 hours are in reality 24 minutes, and each attempt wrongly decided will also diminish the time. Of course, 6 mistakes or more will triggers it's the game over of the game, and it triggers another attack. In this case, we shape it as like the typical "Who wants to be millionaire?" Something like that. So you have the question, you have some hints if you need it.
Sorry, Juan de Dios, could you please share the screen because we have missed it?
Let me shift it again. You see now?
Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So this is the identifier, the look and feel. As I told you, it's pretty much similar to this "Who wants to be a millionaire" approach. So for each question, you have some hints and also possible answers. Potentially ones that you either if your response is correct or if your answer is wrong, you will receive some feedback from the game, and also even if it's wrong, it will point you to some online resources so as you can read a little bit more and understand what the game is doing or what are the options that you have there. For the I didn't mention so far, but the game is restricted to law enforcement and judiciary European member states of European member states, and also within countries with operational agreements either with Europol or Eurojust. So we wanted to limit quite a lot in this phase of the game, the enrollment and the people that were, let's say, our target scope, because we were not sure about how successful or how this will really reach the community. So for us, we prefer to start from the very little, which is our community, around 6,000 users, and then move forward towards what should be the next step, which is coming this year. And it's basically open to the rest of the world with the help of United Nations and Universidad. I wanted to have this slide just to let you know that once you try to go immersive and once you try to go as real as possible, you soon discover that there are more issues than it appears at first sight. Like this devil is in the details. So, for example, we try to be real and use like faces, like the one that you are seeing there in that slide. But soon we discovered that we cannot use real faces of people on the internet to put into a game. So all the faces, all the names, all the addresses, telephone numbers, email accounts, everything was anonymized. In this case, the faces are created via an artificial intelligence engine. So those are not real face at all. The same happens with the names. We do ensure that those names does not exist, and we try to keep all what should be personal data out of personal data. So it's completely dummy data, but without going to Donald or Mickey Mouse and putting something that it's won't look real for the user to play. So we want it to be like as real as possible. And in this case, I believe that with this approach, we circumvent the issue with faces and personal data. Well, in a nutshell, we have had quite successful story with the game so far. We have been playing with this for just 6-7 months, and the reality is that the impact on the community was high, and we soon received a lot of input from externals to know more, to try to know more about this gamification approach and try to see how we can implement some other paths in the game. This year we are working on exploring all the type of cases, not only CT cases or counter-terrorism cases, but also SOC cases, and we will implement them. Also coming from the feedback from the judiciary, we will implement also a different learning path, which is going to be, we want to separate the law enforcement point of view or the law enforcement position, like entry point into the game, to the judiciary entry point into the game. So we want to differentiate when a judge is playing, he will see different paths, and when a law enforcement agent is playing, he will see also different paths. That's in a nutshell, Grego, what I had for you today. If you have any questions later on, I will be pleased to answer back all of them. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Juan. The very interesting presentation. I have a few questions, but I will keep them for the question and answer session. Thank you. So let's move to our final invited speaker, Professor Baltasar Fernandez Manjón, who is the leader of the e-learning research group at the Complutense University of Madrid, where he has also served as Vice Dean of Research and Foreign Relationships, and he's the holder of the Telefónica UCM honorary share in digital education and serious games. Between 2010 and 2011, he was visiting associate professor at Harvard University and visiting scientist at the Laboratory of Computer Science at the Massachusetts General Hospital. He has participated in several European Union projects related with the serious games technology and its application in different domains, such as A2020 Rage and Beaconing, or FP7 Gala, where his group has been in charge of the learning analytics applied to the video games. And today he's gonna deliver a talk about Conectado, a serious game to prevent cyberbullying, which is such an interesting video game for us. And we thank you so much, Baltasar, for joining us today and share with us your experience with this project. So whenever you want, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gregorio. Can you hear me well?
Sure, yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I'm sharing with you and also on the chat the presentation is in a slide share, the one just in case you don't have a good quality. I will share my screen. So now you should be seeing it in full screen. Okay, so I'm a professor in computer science and I'm teaching serious game to, engineers in the game development degree that we have at Complutense. So we are a technical group and we develop technology applied to game. So one of the PhDs I have been co-advising is Antonio Calvo Morata. He was dealing with cyberbullying in school, and we created Conectado. So in cyberbullying in Spain, there are plenty of different approaches that has been tried. For instance, there are from some initiatives from the police, either local or national police, going to schools. There are videos from Pantallas Amigas. There are special telephones where the kids can go. There are specific programs in the different regions in Spain or comunidades autónomas. So there's plenty of things, also including cartoon and everything. But still, the impact is limited. It's limited. So we decided to create a Conectado that is now a validated, a scientifically validated serious game. So we were able to prove that the game is effective. It's a conversational graphic adventure, and it is targeting between 12 and 17 years old. Actually, it's 12, 16, where it works better. It's a game about cyberbullying. It's also deals with some bullying aspect, and it's quite innovative because the player plays the victim role. And the idea is it's not an educational game as usual, because the idea is to increase the empathy and the awareness of the problem, but mostly the empathy with the victims. And also, the Conectado game is not a closed game. The game is not everything. Actually, it has been designed as a tool for the teacher. So the idea is that the whole classroom share the same experience in the game. I will go in more detail into which kind of experience around playing for 40 minutes. And then the teacher can do a guided reflection or post-mortem discussion with the student, because you cannot cover all the topics that will appear in cyberbullying or even in bullying, because that will really depend on culture and also on the specific area. It will not be the same situation in a rich, wealthy area that in a very poor area. The problems will be similar but different. And this is where we give the teacher some opportunity. We will present some of the most common situations. And of course, this is a free and open resource. So you can go and get even the code or the graphics. And they are also available with an open license. The game has now French, English, and Spanish versions, even if the French and English has not been, thoroughly proved with the students. So the idea is you are in a conversational game like this one, where you are the new student in a high school, and you need to survive for 5 days. You also have inside the game a social network where some of the cyberbullying will happen. The idea is cyberbullying is a 24-hour situation, so you cannot escape. As the bullying, usually when you left the school, if the problem does not disappear, at least it decreases. It's not the same case with cyberbullying. So because now most of the kids are really connected all the time, and it can be even more hard for girls because they are more social when they are around 11, 12 years old. The first thing is that if you want to address this problem, you need to have what is the theoretical support model that you are using. In many cases, in Spain, when you are dealing with a bullying situation, this only, the people who aggress, the aggressor or the victim who are deal with. And this is not a very effective model. Actually, the key people there are the spectators, the bystanders. And the idea is, we found, after looking hard, we found a model where they say that if you are able to charge some neutral bystanders, some neutral spectators, just trying to support a little bit the victim, or at least not to follow the aggressor, then the situation of aggression decreases, and it's permanent along the time, because the aggressor is looking for some social relevance. And if he is not, or she is not getting that, then the aggression decreases. So we created this game, but it's more about awareness, not knowledge. It's quite new because the user has to feel as the victim for 5 days, and the players always lose. We have even impossible mini games as Nightmare, where even the video game changed for a very colorful to a black and white, because those are the nightmares that you have during the night, because you cannot escape. This is for reflecting the situation that you cannot escape the cyberbullying by yourself. You need to ask for help. Later on, the teachers can work on this common experience where the student has a very, very clear idea, because they have been having not a good time, but an interesting time playing as a victim. So it's really curious to see what's happening when you deploy this in a classroom. This game has been fully tested and extensively tested with more than 1,400 users, including teachers. We have done the full evaluation. It's not only the pre-post questionnaire or surveys, but also taking data from the actual interaction of the students with the games. So, of course, we have measured what is the user awareness about bullying and cyberbullying. Here on the top right corner, you see what is the pre and the post. This is the pre-intervention with the game and the post-intervention, just only with the game, not with the game plus the teacher discussion. Usually with the teacher discussion, that should even increase a little bit more in getting better results. But as in our experiments, as you cannot guarantee that the intervention of the teacher is the same, so we only study the effect of the game. And of course, we are taking into account and recording all the user choices in the game and the gameplay. So we are using game analytics. The idea is that we have tested this all around Spain in more than 12 schools and high schools with more than 1,400 users, including teachers, and including also students or educational science degrees. That's to contrast if the teachers that are probably older and more experienced has a different view of the game, of the people who will be the next teachers in the next years. Of course, we found that all of them have a significant increase of the awareness about cyberbullying. And it's also interesting because in this kind of games, it's difficult to enter into the school. It's difficult to recruit such a large number of users. It's very difficult to gain, the trust of the schools. And also you need to go, 1 mile farther up than you were expecting. For instance, now in educational, in games, usually try not to do any kind of tutorial in paper, because in video games, if you need a tutorial to understand the game, probably the game is not well designed. But here, you cannot, teachers are not expert in games. So the idea is that we need to create also an educational guide for teachers, a didactical guide, so to explain the teachers who are not so familiar with games, how they can effectively use the game into the classroom. So about what is the supporting theoretical model, how they can use it, what are the kind of discussion they can do with their students. And we also validate this guide with the collaboration of some people from educational sciences. Of course, honing on all the experience that we have in the two flagship H2020 project on serious games, RAID, and beaconing. One was more about creating technology, was RAID, and the other one, beaconing, was applying that technology in the school. We were able to collect all this game analytics data. Actually, we were using the Experience API, Serious Game Profile that we created with ADL from the Department of Defense of the United States, that is using the Experience API standard format, where you are using same kind of technology that is being used in social networks for collecting user information. This is just to do it in a more transparent way, so that you can do later on, if you are analyzing several games, can speed up the kind of analysis that you do, which is the kind of game information that we collect by using game analytics. Is mainly changes between the scenarios, which are the interaction with object and non-player characters, which is the kind of dialogues. And we will see that in the dialogues, we didn't collect all the information in our first try, which are the choices that the user does in the game. Even our game is pretty linear because all the users need to go to the same relevant scenarios. Still, the user need to have the idea that he's choosing or she's choosing their story in the game, and the game should react to their choices. And of course, all the changes in game variables, values that we consider that are relevant. Okay, for instance, which is the in-game day progress. As I previously said, there are 5 days inside the game where you need to survive. And of course, we have 3 different game endings. None of them is really, really positive, because the idea is you cannot escape by yourself from a cyberbullying attack, because it's usually an attack that will be permanently timed by someone that has more power or more cruelty, and is usually supported by a group. So you cannot escape by yourself. You need to ask for help, usually to your family and to the school. In that case, there are some game endings that are better than others, and there's not the perfect ending where you are the winners in a perfect situation, because it doesn't happen in real life. So it can be a game, but it still could be a game that reflects reality. And of course, game learning analytics is not informatic. We even published a paper with that title, because in some cases, people provide you with a very shallow, very not deep interaction information, and they are expecting you to do a terrible analysis where you will get the full insight about what is happening from the educational perspective. Now, I think the educational design should guide both the game design and the analytics design. And it should be very clear how this game design is reflected in the game mechanics and in the interaction that the user is doing there, so that you can extract that information and analyze it to get that insight. I mean, is the user understanding that concept, or is the user skipping that part or not? For instance, in our first try, we didn't do a very detailed analytics, and we later discovered that mainly the boys, not the girls, mainly the boys, skip some of the dialogues. So they were not fully understanding what was happening there. Why we do that? Because we checked that the timestamp that we have in the traces, in the interaction, were too fast for, the reading speed of a 10-year-old boy. Okay, and the idea is, you need to have the idea how to perform, and that should also be provided to some extent by educators and other experts, like the psychologists that you have helping you for doing from this click string the interaction into this educational insight. This meaningful information, if it is not done from the design, it will be very difficult to extract. And of course, that is a little bit more complex, because all the ethical and legal issues should be covered. If you're dealing with minor, the GDPR regulation in Europe, it's very, very tough, depending on which is the kind of information. We recommend that you do pseudo-anonymization at the origin, and still, of course, you need to have all the ethical approval by the ethical boards in some of your institutions. All this work has been scientifically done, and this has been reflected in this publication. So I don't know if you have, that's everything that I have for you now. Probably later you can ask me if you want more details in certain aspects.
Thank you so much, Baltasar. It's such an interesting project, and is quite related to ours. So we greatly appreciate that you share your own experience with us. Thank you very much. I think that all the presentations were very interesting and inspiring, and now we have around 30 minutes for gathering questions and discussing about any topic that you want to bring to the table. So if you have any question, please go ahead.
Gregorio, Nereida has a question in the chat.
She left, well, our colleague Nereida Bueno, who is leading indeed the work package on human factors affecting the cyber crimes that we are considering in the project, has to leave 15 minutes ago, but she left a question, and I understand that is for Ruben, because she meant the second game, and she asked how the information was collected.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm not seeing the question, but if it's what you have said, well, I think first I have to say that I wasn't involved in this project. My colleague Ivan was the one managing this project together with Susana. But from my understanding of what I've gathered in this project, in this investigation, it was by means of Facebook login. It allowed a Facebook login, and it was there where it happened that you couldn't restrict which pictures could be shared with who. And that was what they had to fix in later versions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
So, more questions? Otherwise, I have here several topics that we can discuss during these 30 minutes that we still have ahead. Jaime, you have one question? Yeah, our colleague Jaime Perez, who is indeed pursuing his PhD in the scope of the project under the supervision of Professor Maria Castro and myself, Baltasar, he asked you a question, what future steps in data analytics, data analysis could be taken?
There's plenty of them. I mean, we are using machine learning for trying to provide, I mean, in a different kind of games. We have, I mean, it's mentioned there, we have Timon, that is it's a Python-based environment for doing some automatic analysis on the games if you're using the Experience API format for serious games. So now we are able to speed up the game analytics process. If you can, I mean, this Experience API is the format that is used by the Department of Defense of the United States for tracking all the educational requirement of their soldiers. So there is more than 1 million persons, and it's very complex. So it's quite proven technology now, and it's being promoted. Some people say this is the future in e-learning for tracking the users. it's a little bit more transparent. So there's plenty of things to be done there. But the thing is, you need to establish all the supporting technology, and this is not so easy, because you need to comply with all the GDPR regulation and data protection. So it's not exactly easy. I mean, this is one of the problems that they see in some of the projects, unless they are restricted to, for instance, the one in the police probably has not all those problems because it's restricted for a specific domain, with all the people are professionals in the law enforcement. So some of the limitation of the regulation could be a little bit weaker, but it's still a strong requirement. And there's plenty of things to be done. I mean, we're using analytics for either, contrasting the design to actually see what is happening. For instance, we're using the analytics for filtering. In plenty of cases, there is a pre-post questionnaire, and in the usual approaches, you give full confidence to those answers, user answers. But at the end, with the analytics, you can filter that. For instance, if one of the users say that your game is very bad, and then you discover that he has played only 30 seconds to your game, yeah, maybe he got an idea in 30 seconds about your game. If they are youngster, it could be the case. But in some cases, this has not the same power that the answer given by someone who has played your game for 1 hour. Or for instance, what happens when you are deploying a game, as we previously did, with people with special needs, for instance, with people with Down syndrome. Can you evaluate if they are engaged or not? I mean, simple observation with games could be very decisive. Man, do you think that everything working well as a teacher because all the student seems to be engaged, and later on with the analytics you discover that they have done almost nothing, just wandering around in the game and not doing what you were expecting that they do, or learning what you were expecting that they learn. So there's plenty of things, and the idea is to go for more observational things to more evidence-based approaches. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Baltasar. Related to this question, I would like to also ask a question to Juan de Dios, because serious games have been traditionally used mainly for training and educational purposes. Indeed, in the case of SIRIUS, you use for training law enforcement agencies to combat cybercrime, right? But do you think that the video game could be useful also for you, for Europol, to obtain information on how the policemen or women participating in the project behave, and take additional actions along this line?
Thanks, Gregorio. Yes, indeed. So one of the items that we are exploring is trying to get and examine the most info as possible from the game itself. So we are having a look to where normally people tend to fail. So we know that there are some steps that are quite easy to understand, and there are also quite steps in the retrieval of the evidence when you perform cross-border access to that, where it's pretty much common to receive failed answers, and that is also a good, let's say, it's easy for us, a good feedback for us to prepare ad hoc packages to train on those aspects. So let's say, for example, it's really clear for our community, both from the judicial and the law enforcement one, how mutual legal assistance treaty happens. So how to request information via mutual legal assistance, but it's not that easy for them to understand how direct request happens and how the emergency data request happens. So normally we have 2 or 3 questions per, let's say, area, and based on that, we are preparing specific training templates on that areas. It's not inside the game, of course, but in local trainings that we practice, which is training done ad hoc in the member states, and also via some webinars that we prepare. We try to emphasize what we are getting as feedback from the SIRIUS game.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you, Juan. While we gather more questions through the chat, I have written down more questions about the rest of the presentations. I have one question about the Inspect2T project. Ruben, I don't know if you are going to be able to answer it, because you already said that you were not the principal investigator in this project, right? But you said that in the second game, in the Crime Spotters, the player can play both the criminal and the detective perspective, right? So what was the purpose of allowing them to play the criminal perspective?
Well, yes, that's indeed a very good question. But as you said, please let me ask to my colleagues, Ivan and Susana, and I for sure will answer this properly. Okay? I will get back to you with the answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruben. And another question for Anna and Leire, which is related with well, first with the involvement of family and educators. You said that you try to do it in the OCARiot project, and I would like to know more about what the strategies did you use to do so, and whether they were successful or not, because I think that is quite challenging task indeed.
Yeah, okay. In order to involve all the ecosystem, mainly educators and families, we include in the project as partners schools. We have the schools as partners in the consortium, so they were in charge of including educators as part of the members in the consortium, and also they were dealing with the families. So they organize, together with the rest of the partners, of course, a set of workshops, webinars, meetings, newspapers, emails with families in order to inform them at the beginning of the project about the objective of OCARiot. And then when we wanted to start the requirement, in order to explain them the process, to try to recruit volunteers and provide them all information. So I think it is very important to have a link with the end users. In this case, in our case, we're children, and we achieve it through the schools. Mm-hmm. If we are expecting volunteer recruitment of some kind of stakeholders that will not have a direct link, it's very difficult to get a high number that can allow you to validate the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Additionally, I would like to remark that we also use this ecosystem to validate the initial designs and mock-ups of our Gamify application on the dashboard. So we were able to validate different graphic concepts. We were able to validate the storytelling. In fact, we present 5 different storytellings, and the AM story was the one selected by children. So this allows us to start the design of the game just with an initial validation of end users, and it was very, very important for us.
Yes, and for example, the workshops for validate with children the different designs and storytellings were gamified too, in order to engage them in the tasks that we provide them to validate the design. You know, because it's better to have a special game inside a workshop to develop the task for the children more than, for example, give them pre-selected designs and choose what you want better or what do you like better or something like that. So the workshops with the children were gamified too.
And you did face-to-face workshop, or you also use any online tool so that you can do like a massive validation of the proposed ideas?
No, in this case, they were face-to-face because the schools were in charge of organize the workshops in every country we have. And only the final validation was online because of the COVID-19, only the final validation piloting phase. But at the beginning of the project, we developed face-to-face workshops and meetings.
Yeah, we provided the material. We have several discussions with the pilot sites, and then the material was translated to each pilot site. In some case, there was some small adaptations based on the culture and so on. And then the educators performed the workshop directly with children during the class day.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. We have a question in the chat from Tobias Jacobs from NetLabs, who is participating in the project also as data scientist. He said that he understands that the data collected is in most cases is log data. Baltasar, I was going to tell you if you want to say some words on this.
Yeah, I can elaborate a little bit more. I mean, the thing is that you need to inform the user, because if not, you are not complying, with all the ethical aspect. And usually, once that you are videotaping everything, it can be done on informative evaluation, but it's very difficult to do in schools in our case. In real, summative assessment at the end, when you already have a project. You can do with limited number of users, clearly informing them that you are doing that. We did with people with a special need, because in some cases, with a student with Down syndrome, there were some times where there's no interaction happening, and it's because they left the computer or this kind of things, and then we need some explanation for those gaps in the data. But later on, you need to destroy those recordings, and they need to be kept at the institution where they were recorded. And there's plenty of limitations when you are dealing with minor, with people with, special needs, or with, some neurological limitations or issues. And also, it's very painful to analyze it. In some other previous project that we did with the ONCE in Spain, that is the National Blind Organization, we need to videotape and then analyze all the interaction with some adapted games for blind people, and it is really, really painful. And then you have, more than 20 hours of videotaping, and then you need to analyze and annotate everything on that. Actually, this is the best situation for losing a PhD student. You put someone to analyze video, and then they discover that the PhD was not their main aim in their life, and they moved to industry in the next 3 months. It's a joke, but it's really, really painful.
And apart from these specific cases you mentioned, Baltasar, in games like the ones you have presented, in this case there is no need to gather this kind of information, right? Everything is quite guided.
No, you can do now, for instance, we're evaluating another game for promoting computational thinking and coding in schools, and we just came from doing 13 hours of testing in a nearby school with 7 different groups. There's a school where my kids attend too. So
you are researching with your kids.
Sometimes with them, sometimes with their friends, or maybe it's not the level. But the thing is, if you want to record it, then the kind of papers you need to sign is completely different. The kids don't feel at ease. There's a lot of noise in the classroom if you want to have sound also. There's some other ways. For instance, with expert, you can do that because we usually do the game validation first with expert, later with teachers or with the mediators of the games, if there are some mediators, and later on with the final users, usually in these 3 steps. Because, of course, it's much better, and if you have 4 or 5 experts, you do not, one after the other, and then the game improve a lot of. And later on, you try to recruit some teachers or mediators, and you do some different things, mainly based on analytics. Now that with the pandemic, you cannot go there presentially, and later on you go to schools, but it's complex. And the idea is the more intrusive, the less real experience you get, because of course they feel observed. And also it's very, very painful to analyze it. So in some cases, you think, that will be very useful. But then you need to turn this data and video data to go for video data to inside is very, very complex. If you want to do in a scientific way, if you only want to have some kind of idea what's happening, maybe it could be useful.
Violeta have a question. Violeta, you have a audio privilege.
Yeah. Yes, I was wondering that since you have talked, Anna and Lady have talked about the involvement of parents in or and not only the minors, I was wondering if maybe at some point it could be interesting also to include parents or I don't know, other figures, family figures that maybe are unaware of these cybercrimes, because sometimes there is so much content shared in the internet that maybe the children are even more aware that what they are doing because they are more familiar, and maybe unconscious the family will share too much content. I don't know if there will be maybe also like a tool also to raise awareness among not only the children but at a later stage among all other population age range. What do you think about it?
Yeah, thanks, Violeta, for the comments. I totally agree with you. Of course, the objective of Rayuela is just to focus on children providing this serious game, because this is the way we think they can learn better. But it is also very important to educate families about the risk of cybercrime. So, but I think there, for example, this is similar to what we did in OCARiot. In OCARiot, we developed a game for children, and then we developed a dashboard for parents, so they can do a follow-up, but they can also learn. And we also propose some activities to be, or missions to be completed by children together with the parents or with the families. So I think it is important to include in the project some kind of awareness for families. It could be some webinars, some sessions, some guides, something so they are also involved in the loop, in the ecosystem, and they can also support children with any question or doubts.
Totally agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lady and Anna. Since we are reaching the end of the workshop, unless anybody else has questions in the chat, I have a couple of questions more, one for Baltasar and one for Juan de and Ruben. The first one for Baltasar. Baltasar, as I said before, we have been analyzing the state of the art, and there are many serious games on focusing on increasing awareness with educational purpose and so on and so forth. And from some time now, we have identified that data analysis have become a hot topic and probably a challenge in this domain, because, as you said, especially when dealing with minors, privacy, ethics, and legal issues are very, very strong there. But if you want to do data analysis and if you want that the results are significant enough, you need such a large data set and such a diverse data set. So it looks like you need to make the serious game viral in order to get such a conditions. So I would like to know your opinion about if it is possible to make a serious game viral, and if the data collected in a unsupervised environment should be valid or should be taken carefully.
Actually, the thing is that there are several tricks in this kind of evaluation. One is the T students, and the other one is the power sample. So, and of course the control group. So there are some things that you need to deal with in terms of proving that it's scientifically sound. And one of the problems is usually that the first one is that a control group is very difficult. I mean, if you go to a school and say, okay, I have something that addresses your problem, then you need to say to the school, okay, but only half of your students will get the good drug. Let's say the drug that saves you. No, the other half, no, I'm sorry, but I need a control group. So it is really, really painful. If the school agrees to go with that, later on you need to recover the other students and do the intervention with them at a later stage. That means that requires more time from the researcher of the people who is doing the intervention, and also from the student. So that is really difficult to do in the schools, and you need to deal with that. There's another thing is, okay, how large is the sample that we need? Okay, what we did in that case is we have been doing a quite extensive review analysis, for instance, in games for dealing with bullying and cyberbullying, and also in games that based on data from the games, do some kind of data science approach, trying to do some analysis. So we have this second one is not there, but you can find in our website. This is a review that was published in Computers and Education. And let's say, for instance, that most of the educational games has been validated with less than 100 students. So that is already giving you a hint of about what could be considered.
Yeah, but imagine, Baltasar, that you want to do profiling, for instance, as we want to do in the project. We want to identify potential risk profiles so that law enforcement agencies can develop evidence-based measures to, for instance, protect them. In this case, you need such a large data set, right?
We have only done this kind of profiling for identifying the type of users based on their gaming preferences for a different kind of game that we were applying in the cultural sector, actually for attracting a student to classical Spanish theater. And yeah, you need a pretty large number sample.
Large, and I would say that also diverse, if you want to
yeah, if you don't
generalize.
have the population, then you cannot segment it. So it's and it's also, but there is more about if you are working with sociologists, then they should inform you about which is the perfect sample for doing these kind of things, because also you can probably work with forehand information about which is the kind of population that is done. I mean, this is done in probably some other domains, such as I don't know, elections and these kind of things, based on demographics or depending on the kind of things. In our case, we were trying to extract where the main components and how they respond to our game based on their gaming preference. And then we did a principal component analysis, trying to extract this automatically. But it really depends. There's no just one answer to these kind of problems.
Okay, thank you. Although we are already out of time, I would like to ask this final question to Juan de and Ruben. And it's about what expectations from a project like Rayuela may have law enforcement agencies at different levels, since you are working, Juan de, in Europol, global force, and Ruben in Valencia local police with a more local scope. What would you expect from the project? Which benefits you think that a project like Rayuela may bring to your organizations and law enforcement agencies in general?
Well, and from my side, Ruben, Valencia local police, I think that I really have high expectations of what Rayuela can bring to our organization, because as you have said, our local profile lets us to have a close contact and relationship with minors through the schools. We have the Help to Prevent program done in the Valencia with up to 120 different schools where we have speeches, and we create awareness on different issues that they can face in those ages. And I think that cybercrime and specifically cyberbullying are one of the most important issues and problems that they are coping with in those ages. So my organization for sure will use this the knowledge gathered in Rayuela project in order to do the really good campaigns, awareness campaigns and prevention campaigns in those Help to Prevent programs done in the different schools in Valencia. So I really have high expectations of Rayuela. Thank you, Gregorio. Thank you, Ruben.
Well, Gregorio, from our side, Europol always welcome those type of initiatives. It's really helpful to count with projects that really goes into a way of fighting cybercrime. For us, both, I see that the potential of this project for the raise of the awareness of the community, and also to build capacity on the member states. You know that here in Europol we do count with a cybercrime center, and we will be more than happy to support you with any item that you may need, either via promoting or supporting you with some of the items that you can discover, if you need any sort of interaction with our stakeholders. And of course, as I reiterated to you on previous times, also from SIRIUS, but mainly from Europol, we are more than happy to try to promote and let proper visibility to your project, because we do think this is of a real added value. And if we found a way to fight cybercrime since this angle, we will after have less cases and less support on our side. So it's always a win-win for sure if we build and we raise awareness since a very early stage.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Juan de, because I think that the Europol support would be key for us in order to reach European law enforcement agencies, which is in turn key for the success of the developed video game. So we are 5 minutes out of time. I would like to say thank you so much to all the speakers for the great presentation and discussion. I think that this workshop has been very useful for us, for the project, and very inspiring. So thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.